What's up, guys? Connor OHanlon here for another episode of the Greater Society podcast. And today we are going to be going over a lot of small stories that are clips or endorsements or things that I find very important that happened over the last week. We have not had the bombshells that we are used to in the last couple of months with the 4 arrests, uh, the multiple scandals that are going on at all times with Donald Trump, the Republican primary. None of that today, for the most part. We will touch on some of it, but we are largely going to be talking about PA politics. We're going to be talking about Governor Shapiro endorsing Kendra Brooks, why that's important. We're going to be talking and looking at clips from the SAG-AFTRA strike, specifically looking at the actors from Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston, both on the picket line. And, you know, for what it's worth, the actors from Better Call Saul are also out there, but the clips that I'm pulling are from the Breaking Bad actors. Then we'll talk about Bill Maher, who I used to watch his show quite frequently in college, being a scab, and undermining the SAG, or trying to, or kind of just disregarding the concerns of the writers and the actors, specifically the writers in the clip that we will talk about. We have some other Republican craziness, specifically we have Governor or former Governor Huckabee, not Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We have Mike Huckabee, who is Sarah Huckabee Sanders' father, talking about the end of democracy in America. We have a supposed progressive, Jimmy Dore, claiming that Bernie Sanders is a war pig and that he is worse than Mitch McConnell. So we have a lot to cover. None of them are these big, gigantic bombshells that the typical Greater Society podcast has been over the last couple of months, I would say. But these things are more so handpicked by me because I think that they're important, but also fit more of like a progressive critique rather than just a broader overall, like we need to save democracy critique. So, breaking with our normal giant national stories down to the local, we're actually going to start in Pennsylvania with this. This is tweeted out here today by Kendra Brooks, and we'll also talk about Josh Shapiro tweeting it out. But here's the graphic for those who are looking, who are watching online on YouTube. For those who are just listening, it says Josh Shapiro strongly endorses Kendra Brooks for City Council at Large, which is for Philadelphia, by the way. If you don't know, we will talk about the specifics of it in a second. But the quote here says, since Kendra came into office, she has been a fierce advocate for Philadelphia's working families and has demonstrated to me how critical her voice and lived experience are in city council. Now, here you see the tweet from Kendra Brooks. You'll see Josh Shapiro. Here's a minor flex for you guys, is that Governor Shapiro does follow me on Twitter. So there's a W in the chat for that. So why is this important? Oh, it's just an endorsement. Who cares? It's just an endorsement. We have talked about this before. I've talked specifically about Kendra Brooks. I've actually tried to get one of her running mates, Nicholas O'Rourke, on the program, so which I will follow up on soon because they expressed interest. They're not Democrats. That's why this is important. A sitting Democratic governor endorsing Kendra Brooks. He didn't endorse Nick, but for what it's worth, just endorsing Kendra is a big step. Kendra and Nick are both members of the Working Families Party. Now, the Working Families Party does work hand in hand in a lot of ways with the Democratic Party in specific areas. So like in Bucks County, the Working Families Party is not really another party in the same way as it would be in major cities. In Philadelphia, there are rules for city council that are similar, and where you live might have a similar rule. Whether it's for your borough council, your city council, your borough council, your county commissioners, or whatever, there's a rule where at least one of the council members has to be from a minority party. Now, I'll emphasize on a minority party because it doesn't have to be the minority party in the two-party system. So in Philadelphia, you have the Democrats and the Republicans, right? Well, in theory, that minority party historically has been the Republican Party. You have someone like David O, who is running for mayor still, by the way, in the general election as a Republican. He was on the city council. They do have a unique rule where if you're running for another office, you have to step back from city council. It's an interesting rule to have. But that being said, there's no rule that says that it has to be a Democrat or a Republican. So I believe it was 2019 when Kendra Brooks ran for the first time and she won. And running as a Working Families Party candidate, a progressive, the Working Families Party being people that are like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, these are people that could categorically be considered Democrats in some capacity. In other capacities, maybe they differ. It depends on the specifics, right? So there are people that are generally more progressive. The Working Families Party in Philadelphia ran as a third party and won with Kendra Brooks. This year, she's up for re-election, and you have Nick O'Rourke, who is running, I believe, in one of the council, like the so Philadelphia is unique where it has both an at-large council and it has district councils or council members. So they have at large, which would be Kendra, but and also theoretically you could get another of the quote minority party to be the Working Families Party in one of those districts, like Nick is running in. This is big, just because the fact that Governor Shapiro is very popular. I was getting my haircut today, right like minutes ago, and the guy cutting my hair, who I don't even know is a Democrat, but he's been cutting my hair now for a little while, so he kind of knows like what I do politically. He's talking to me and he goes, "Yeah, there's this thing at the Mercer Museum, blah blah blah." And for those who don't know, the Mercer Museum's here in Doylestown, but Governor Shapiro actually is coming and pulling something from it to the governor's mansion. He thought it was really cool and all this stuff. So somebody that's just kind of like not really plugged into politics, kind of admiring what Governor Shapiro is doing. So Josh Shapiro's word, his endorsement, is very, very important and useful. Securing one of the, and I could be wrong, I think it's at least one seat. My Philadelphia friends are screaming at me right now. Connor, it's two. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's one or two of the seats. So I would have to check that Nick is not running in a district. He's running citywide. I'm not sure. But regardless, what this means is it's putting a dagger into the Republican Party establishment in Philadelphia. Because if you can take out whatever Republicans are in power there and you can replace them with third party, theoretically it could be Green Party, it could be a Libertarian Party. I don't support the Libertarian Party. I don't really support the Green Party for that matter. I think the Working Families Party is much more of a functional third party if we had to choose one, because they organize locally. That's where the Green Party falls very short. And we talk about Cornel West's campaign. We've talked about it in the past. We'll probably talk about it in the future, but there's a big difference because like Jill Stein was it in 2016, right? Like that's all that the Green Party had. Do they have local officials elected? Maybe here and there, sporadically. Do they have state reps and congressmen? They don't have any congressmen. They don't have any senators. They don't have any governors. So this is why it's like building these connections and building a broad base is what Kendra Brooks has done on the city council and will continue to do, and clearly exemplifies by getting the endorsement of a sitting Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro. I think it's very, very important and it's very useful to highlight. And it just goes to show you that building broad coalitions can be across partisan lines. It just doesn't have to be the partisan lines that we're used to. And I think it's very nice. Lindsay's in the chat. The two of us met Kendra Brooks. Lindsay talked to her more than I did at an HRC event, the Human Rights Campaign. And she was very focused on legit grassroots organizing. We talked obviously about food pantries and all that stuff, but you can see by her organization the emphasis on local grassroots campaigning. And that's how you win. So that's what I have there. Next, she is the real deal. Next, let us. Oh man. It was funny because we didn't even necessarily recognize her right away, and then who she was, and we were like, "Wait, you're Kendra Brooks?" I remember being like, "Wow!" I was like, "I know who you are." Okay, let's go. before we go into the Republican nonsense, let's do one stupid Republican clip. Here's Florida Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, who has dropped over 50, 55, maybe close to 60% of his support in the presidential campaign to Donald Trump and others. He has gone from 30+%, almost 40%, now down to 15, 14% in some polls. Here he is sitting down with Kayleigh McEnany, who is the former press secretary for Donald Trump. She was the last one, but now Donald Trump calling her Milk Toast Kayleigh, Milk Toast, spelling it M-I-L-K, Milk Toast, which I don't think that I want to try any milk toast. I'm good with any other form of toast, honestly. But here's Governor Ron DeSantis sitting down on Fox News talking about how liberals just want to politicize the weather.
Biden also said, when standing here in the state of Florida, nobody intelligent can deny the impact of climate crises.
I study history, and they act like this is somehow unprecedented. It's not.
Yeah, it is.
This area, the Big Bend, got hit by a storm, almost the exact same track in 1896 that had 125-mile-per-hour winds. So
this is worth noting. He just said there was a storm here in 1896 or whatever. These storms have happened. Storms happen like this, right? They're called once in a century, once in a millennia storms, once in a X amount of years storm, once in a X amount of year hurricane. But the impact in climate is not the impact on weather. It is the impact on weather trends, weather patterns, etc. So increasing intensity of storms, increasing frequency of storms, that's just two of the things that are doing it, right? So like you have global temperatures rising. Yep. You have more intense winters in some places. Yes, it is not because global warming, as they wanted to fixate on, because the globe is technically warming, but it's because of climate change, where it increases intensity of individual weather patterns because of the impact on the overall environment and the climate. And DeSantis and co, this is not even my bailiwick, but it is so embarrassing to be like, we're going to debate climate science when climate science has proven beyond, there is more consensus on the climate that at least climate change is partially man-made, impacted by man, then there is evidence that supports that lung cancer is caused by smoking cigarettes. Soak that in.
The idea that we've not had powerful storms until recently,
that's not the point.
That's just not factually true. And so,
yeah, that's not what anyone's saying, stupid.
So when that's the first thing they want to say, you have to ask, why are you trying to politicize the weather?
Why are you trying to politicize the weather? I just want to politicize Mickey Mouse. I just want to politicize Spider-Man. Why do you want to politicize the weather? Why do you want to politicize science? That's the question. It's not partisan issue. It shouldn't be a partisan issue to say that science is not partisan. Climate change is real. We know this. That's not a debate. How much of an impact humans have? Sure, that could be a debate. Can we reverse it? Sure, we can debate that and how to go about it. Some people are very adamant against, carbon reversal. I don't know enough about it to be, it's dead wrong. We cannot do it. The technology is not 100% there. But is that a substantive debate? Can we say we should switch these buildings to being powered by geothermal? Should we look at nuclear power as an alternative? These are legit debates. Saying that storms are bigger and badder, so now you guys are politicizing it because these things kill people. Oh no, you're politicizing it. But God forbid if you tell any kid in Florida in a public school that you have a partner of the same sex, you are fired, as he said in the debate. I don't think that's a good Ron DeSantis impression, but it's a horrible voice. So we'll attribute to him. So that's one of our horrible clips of Republicans for today. Here we have something I really like to see. But it's not because I like to see like what he's saying, because what he's saying is frustrating. It's crappy, but it goes to exemplify what is going on with the SAG-AFTRA strike, why it is important, even for big celebrities, people like Aaron Paul, like Bryan Cranston, to be out on the picket line. So here is Breaking Bad star Jesse from Breaking Bad, and I guess Better Call Saul, spoiler alert, on striking and his residuals from Netflix for Breaking Bad, which is arguably the best, if not one of the best shows ever created.
I don't get a piece from Netflix on Breaking Bad, to be totally honest, and that's insane to me. You know what I mean? Like shows live forever on these streamers, and it goes through waves, you know. And I mean, I just saw the other day that Breaking Bad was trending on Netflix. I mean, it's such common sense, and I think a lot of these streamers, they know that they have been getting away with not paying people just fair wage, and now it's time to pony up, and that's just one of the things that we're fighting for.
So that's a good way to end it too for this clip. Aaron notes that it's just one of the things that they are fighting for, because residuals are a way that in the past, when you sold a show to, let's say, a cable network, that's how you would get paid. Every time they're airing it, you're getting paid. The same way, like on the radio, you're getting plays, they'll pay you. On streaming services, the production companies, and more specifically, the actors and the writers and the editors and the people that operate the stages, the people that create the costumes, you know, the people that operate the cameras, etc., etc., etc. They don't have the back room data that shows 1 million people watched Breaking Bad this week, and they signed up for Netflix because of that show, which the data is probably not as strong on that second part, but some of these shows are definitely would serve as loss leaders. That's another topic. But the actors have no input or understanding of the specifics of their show making money because they don't have the data. The streaming services don't have to share the data, and they don't have to tell anybody what they are basically making off of it, unless when they're a public company, you have the public financial statements, but it doesn't say like, oh, Breaking Bad brought in X amount of subscriptions. This is not how it works. So when they buy the show, it's like Aaron's pointing out, it just lives on there unless it's renegotiated and you put in, we get new residuals after a certain amount. So one of the two basically main actors in the greatest or one of the greatest shows gets $0 in residuals from Breaking Bad being on Netflix. Shouldn't that tell us something? Like, I'm sure Aaron Paul has enough money, right? But he is an example. If he is getting $0, what about the people that are extras? What about the people that are minor characters? They don't have a job necessarily every single year for in acting that makes them hit the certain amount of money that they need to get health insurance. They need to pay the bills. They don't necessarily work the same schedules as the average person. It's very seasonal. It's very hit or miss on some of these things. And we'll talk about some of this seasonality and hit or miss stuff with Bill Maher, but he's an example. When we talk about writing, He's talking about the acting piece. He's talking about writing. They want to automate writers away. You think that an automated writer is going to make Breaking Bad or The Sopranos? I don't think so. Actually, in fact, I know they wouldn't. Because there's a human element in writing and creativity, and creative writing for that matter, mend them together, that creates these stories that are so unique and engaging and keeps people hooked. No matter what algorithm you put it in, you're not going to get the stories like to come out that way. Look, I've tried to use ChatGPT to like edit papers, and it'll change stuff that just doesn't need to be changed, and it'll make things super robotic almost in a way. Can it be used? Yes. Should it be used for creative endeavors like writing TV shows? No. Books? No. Poetry? No. Songs? No. It's not that complicated. But here we have another clip of now we have Bryan Cranston with Aaron Paul talking about their membership in SAG-AFTRA and what it meant to them.
I've been a SAG member for a very long time, most of my life.
I just realized I've been a member for 44 years. 44 years.
That's how old I am. You became a member in 79.
In 79.
That's when I was born.
Aaron said at the rally here that when he was just starting out, if he didn't have residuals coming in, he would not have been able to continue.
There's no way I would have been able to survive.
And that's so true.
So emphasizing that when Aaron Paul was starting, so before shows like Breaking Bad, he was getting residuals for shows so that they were paying him when he didn't necessarily have a job or a role in a show. So that's how he was surviving while he was auditioning. Because here's the thing. You audition, you do all this stuff, you don't necessarily get paid. You don't get paid for any of that stuff. So even if you're trying and you are putting yourself out there and you are doing all this stuff, you don't necessarily make any money. So what Brian's highlighting there is saying, basically, Aaron made it off of residuals for a long time, and then he gets the role of Jesse, basically. And then checkmate, right?
But that's our generation. My generation, then your generation. This new generation doesn't have that advantage.
And this is why it's important for people like Brian and Aaron to do this, because they're saying, like, look, we made it. We made it. Does it bother them? I'm sure that they get $0 in residuals from Breaking Bad. Maybe Bryan Cranston does. I don't know. But Aaron Paul, as we know from the last clip, said he didn't. Does it bother them that they get 0? Yeah, I'm sure it does. But they would be okay. This is what solidarity means. This is an example of solidarity where it says, you know what? I might be in the top 1% of my field, my profession. But I'm still going to fight for the people that haven't made it yet. I'm still going to organize with them, stand in solidarity with them, not cross the picket line because, I could probably do this show or do that movie and whatever. This is what solidarity should look like, but it also is what it does look like right now, which I don't know that we would have always seen it because the growing labor movement right now is so much stronger, and it hopefully will just continue to get better.
What used to be part of our income relying on syndication, foreign syndication, DVD sales, and all those things, they're no more. The business has changed. And the AMPTP is trying to
I just want to note that is not me breathing. That's them breathing while walking.
The old business model, and it just doesn't work. It won't work, and it can't work. And we're just trying to get them to see that they realize this. I know they realize
They
this.
know it. They know it. They know it.
They're trying to deny it by saying, but why we have a residuals system, and it's like, oh no. Streaming changed everything.
Changed everything.
And in fact, all the legacy studios, instead of this one, not yet. But the other legacy studios have changed their business model in recognition of this.
We're not going anywhere. We're standing in solidarity with every SAG member out there, and yeah, we're just fighting the good fight.
Damn straight. I like to see that these are celebrities doing this, because it shows to you that the average person also can do that. It's standing up for the big, little, medium, everybody in between. And that's what solidarity is supposed to be about. Now, let's go from solidarity to Scab, shall we? So, this is going to be, what's up, CB? You're gonna like this clip, sir. You're just in time for William Maher being an absolute piece of, you know what, Scab. And I will preface this by saying I haven't watched Bill Maher's program in 5 years, probably, at this point. I've probably listened to an interview here and there if he had like Bernie Sanders or like someone like Killer Mike on. This is Bill Maher's podcast, which is different than his HBO show. I will preface all this by saying that his HBO show has writers. He doesn't write his own jokes, or at least he doesn't write all of them. He doesn't write all the segments. He doesn't operate the camera. He doesn't operate the production. He doesn't change the microphones on guests. He doesn't do makeup. He doesn't do hair. He doesn't do any of that stuff. In 2015, 2016, Bill Maher was supposed to be a progressive person that supported Bernie Sanders. Somehow by 2020, he shifted to say, well, Bernie is too crazy, he's too radical. I think we should get somebody like Amy Klobuchar. Yeah, he definitely doesn't do hair, you're right. He is, if he held a baby, the baby would definitely be crying, because that is slicked back hair. But he shifted, and he wants to claim that the left shifted. He wants to claim that it's these woke people are so far out there. And I will go to the mat on this if I ever had the chance to talk to him. But that is not the case. The man has moved to the right, and he can say he still supports universal health care or whatever he wants to claim. He says he cares about the environment. Okay. Maybe he should stop flirting with anti-democracy authoritarians that support the right. Now, the guest that he has on here is not an authoritarian, and you'll see his response, but it is comedian Jim Gaffigan, who was like, dude, like, I don't agree with what you're saying here. And good for him. Because why would he agree with him? This is going to be one of the stupidest takes that you can possibly imagine from somebody that has made it in show business. This is Scab material right here. Here is Bill Maher on Club Random, smoking a cigar or probably a joint, with tons of alcohol all over his studio. Tim Heidecker apparently mocks it all the time. Prepare yourself for some horrible takes.
The strike is a perfect example. Those guys would never go back. This strike could go on till the 24th century. They would stay out. I feel for my writers. I love my writers. I'm one of my writers.
But
there's a big other side to it, and
a big other side to it. He is about to say some of the wackiest stuff you could possibly imagine. Oh, Will, baby. I've been waiting for you in chat.
A lot of people are being hurt besides them. A lot of people who don't make as much money as them in this bipartisan world we have, where you're just in one camp or the other. There's no...
So he doesn't mean bipartisan, he means divided. But also, what he's trying to say is that there are people that make less money than the writers. Okay. Does that mean that they shouldn't get paid at all? Should the writers get paid less? Should they just accept less? Should let's just say the stage production, which is also unionized, should they just take less? Do they not need it? They don't need a living wage? How does that follow?
In between.
And also, for a matter of fact, honestly, if you let's just take out the writers, take out the actors, the stage crew, which is unionized, the people that operate like that, these are very blue-collar jobs, right? These are stereotypical union jobs. So you're telling me that if they went on strike, that they should just get back to work? Like, oh, just accept it? There are negotiations now with writers that work on video games because their contract's up. For other types of media now, should they all just say, you know what? Things changed. You know, we don't sell video games anymore on a disc. So, because they sell it on Steam, we should just go back to work and accept less pay. Why would they do that? The business, this is why it's, I'm going to spend a good amount of time on this clip. This is why it is important to know the actors and the writers are necessary parts of labor. They are necessary labor to make the product that they are trying to sell. They, meaning Bill Maher as a producer of a show. They need the writers, and he doesn't necessarily need actors, but he needs writers. Other shows need actors. Other shows need cameramen, etc. Go down the line. To make the product that they sell. Without them, the same way that Amazon is nothing without its workers. Sure, Jeff Bezos. Oh, Elon Musk. Tesla. Oh, no. Without the workers, they are nothing. It's an idea. It's a concept. Cool. You can be Tony Stark over in the corner, but without your workers putting together the show, putting together the car, putting together those packages and delivering them door to door, you are nothing. It is a partnership. So engaging in good faith and saying, well, because he's about to say this, you don't deserve a living wage, is ludicrous. Anti-American, I will say too. But it is absolutely ludicrous to say, well, you guys just don't deserve it.
You're either for the strike, like they're fucking Che Guevara out there. You know, like this is...
Che Guevara did not just do strikes. He, had a revolution.
Cesar Chavez lettuce picking strike, or you're with Trump. Like there's no different.
Actually, there are a lot of blue collar people that are union workers that do go on strike, that do collectively bargain, that are Trump supporters. I don't agree with them, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve a living wage. It doesn't mean that a strike is not necessarily good or bad. I would like for a strike not to be happening, but I would also like for people to live off of their labor. A crazy concept, I know.
There's only two camps, and it's much more complicated than that.
It's not, though.
It is, but I do feel like
this is a comedian, Jim Gaffigan, being like, all right, bro, come on now.
Is a lot of the points, a lot of the grievances I kind of agree with.
I do understand that they're getting screwed a bit by the streamers, yes.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's a change, and you either, it's like anything that is, I believe in free market, but I also believe in trust and then verify, right?
what does that mean?
Meaning, you don't trust, like the reason, I mean,
You wouldn't trust a big corporation. He's not saying that, but you wouldn't trust a big corporation to tell you the truth. You have to have the SEC, you have to have auditors, because otherwise these companies would not tell you the truth. There's no fiduciary responsibility to them to tell you the truth unless you have to.
Zaslav made $400 million, and I think they're looking for 80 million for, it's like they're gonna you leave a kid in front of a bowl of marshmallows, they're gonna eat the marshmallows. It's not like some grand thing. It's,
Well, I don't know. What are you saying? They're only asking for $80 million?
well, I'm saying
They're asking for a lot of things.
they're asking for a lot
that
of
are
things.
like kooky. Like what I find objectionable
Like what, Bill?
about the philosophy of the strike, it seems to be they have really morphed a long way from 2007 strike, where they kind of believe that you're owed a living.
What? Say that again?
They kind of believe that you're owed a living as a writer, and you're not. Where
Say
they
that
kind
one
of
more time
believe
for
that
me.
you're owed a living as a writer, and you're not. This is
I'm sorry. If you are even center right all the way to anarcho-communist and everything in between, I think even most right-wingers, for the most part, believe you work for a living, you should be able to make a living wage. That's why it's called that. If you are working a job as a writer for a show, you should be paid and compensated as a writer. Does that mean that you get $1 million? No. Not the way it happens, right? But you should be given a living wage for the work you're doing. And what the writers and the actors are looking for, as we talked about last couple clips, are residuals and looking at getting money from streaming services that they otherwise wouldn't get, because in the past it would have been through syndication on television. Of course, if we asked Bill Maher to work for free, it would be a big problem. If Bill Maher had to work for $7.25 an hour, it'd be a big problem. This is why it's a so-called progressive, somebody that says that they were progressive, isn't even living up to the standard of a centrist Democrat, because even centrist Democrats believe that we should raise the minimum wage, that people that work a minimum wage job should make a living wage. But now the guy that makes his money off of other people writing jokes for him doesn't believe that they are owed a living wage. I don't know how that follows.
This is show business. This is a make or miss league.
First, and here's the thing. The writers are hired by the production companies. They are hired by the people making the movies, or the shows. As a matter of fact, the writers are like the one thing that like 100% should get paid. The actors should be like more so based on the performance of a production more than the writers, because the writers are there. If the writers write a script and it's picked up and it's for the production company, they're the ones that already put in the labor. Once the acting and all that stuff is done, yeah, then those people should get paid too. It's not that complicated.
And not everybody.
You don't think that like that streamers should reveal numbers so that they can?
Oh, maybe
calculate things?
sure.
So at the end, the last thing. Oh yeah, okay. I mean, that's one of the things. He didn't say what's the crazy thing about these. Like, he doesn't go into what's so crazy about this. What's so crazy about this? What is so crazy about asking for a living wage? I'm sorry, if you work a full-time job, and yet their job is different. It is different hours. It is more seasonal than it is an average job. But in that time, in that crunch period, it is more intense than most jobs. That's the fact. And because you're writing and it's creative, it's not so hard. Wham. That's basically what he wants to say. That is somebody that is completely out of touch. He hates young people. He hates the progressive wing of the Democratic Party at this point. He stands for functionally nothing. All he does is just critique the left over and over and over again. For somebody that called Trump a whiny little bitch in 2015 and 2016, Bill Maher has turned into a whiny little bitch himself, frankly. All right. What else we got here? Okay. Stay on the cuckoo stuff. Mike Huckabee, I don't even know what channel his show is on. He thinks that if Donald Trump doesn't win the 2024 presidential election, that it'll be the last election that doesn't end with bullets. Which you might be saying, Connor, that can't be what he says. That is so hyperbolic. Well, here he is.
Do you know how political opponents to those in power are dealt with in third world dictatorships, banana republics, and communist regimes? Well, it's simple. The people in power use their police agencies to arrest their opponents for made-up crimes in an attempt to discredit them.
Trump has over 70 felony charges, by the way. 70. And they're in front of judges that Trump appointed. Some of them.
Bankrupt.
But they're just made up. It's just crooked Joe Biden going after me, little old me, Donald Trump. Remember that Donald Trump got impeached because he was actually trying to do this. He was actually trying to pressure Volodymyr Zelensky into giving him dirt on Joe Biden. That's why he was impeached the first time. He may have kind of inspired an insurrection on the Capitol, but we won't talk about that. That's only one of the 4 indictments. Come on. It's just made up.
Corrupt them, imprison them, exile them, or all of the above. And if you're not paying attention, you may not realize that Joe Biden is using exactly those tactics to make sure that Donald Trump is not his opponent in 2024. Here's the problem. If these tactics end up working to keep Trump from winning or even running in 2024,
they won't. I mean, they won't keep him from running for the most part. Most likely, if I had to put money on it. But he might lose. He's probably going to lose, hopefully.
it is going to be the last American election that will be decided by ballots rather than bullets.
See? That is not an exaggeration. That is a thinly veiled call for stochastic terrorism, frankly. This is a former governor whose daughter is the current governor of Arkansas. Basically saying, and Mike Huckabee ran for president, basically saying, if Donald Trump loses, and this, by the way, let's also talk about the fact that Tucker Carlson, I don't have the clip here, but Tucker Carlson in the last week is basically hinting at saying that Trump is going to get assassinated. He's going to get assassinated. He's going to get assassinated. Will says, you guys better hope Trump is the nominee. Yes, he is facing a ton of charges, yet still polling neck to neck with the current president. What's that say about Biden? Well, polling this far out of a general election doesn't actually mean anything for the most part. And also, national polling doesn't mean anything either. It's not a good sign for President Biden. I will agree with you on that, Will, but I still think that President Biden could and will beat Donald Trump if that is the matchup we are given. I know you're a Vivek rhymes with cake fan, but he had a worse approval than rating than Trump. Well, we'll have to see how that works, right? We will have to see. Yes. Yeah, 91 felony charges against him. Yeah. I thought it was 71. I didn't want to be so precise. I'll have to take your word for it. Okay. So going back to so-called self-proclaimed progressives. This is a clip. I saw it today. It's a little older. It's a few days old. Of Jimmy Dore on his program claiming that Bernie Sanders, the guy that was against the Iraq War, constantly rails against the military-industrial complex. But Jimmy Dore is claiming that Bernie Sanders is a war pig and that he is worse than Mitch McConnell. Some progressive we have here. Let's take a listen.
Things on one, he's talked out of both sides of his mouth, because that's what Bernie Sanders is, a double talking bullshitter who is never going to fight for you. He never did anything he said he was going to do, except what he does is prop up Wall Street, the military.
So this is the guy that supported Tulsi Gabbard in 2020, by the way. This is the guy that goes on Tucker Carlson's show, by the way. This is the guy that never does any sort of organizing, never ever steps out and does anything to help working class people, never ever shows solidarity across any sort of labor movement. This is a guy that wants to LARP as a progressive, but he is LARPing as an anti-establishment person. That is it. That is it. Yeah, see, if Will is saying that somebody is a sensible Democrat, I'm sorry, Will, but most likely they're not. Most likely they are not. But here's the thing, Will, and this is more broadly. Jimmy Dore supported Tulsi Gabbard, claiming that she was more progressive than Bernie Sanders, except the fact that she didn't even support Medicare for all. If you don't support universal health care, you are not more progressive than Bernie. That's just a fact. That's one of the major equalizers in this country that we could have. Is universal health care. Now this guy, this dope, is trying to claim that Bernie Sanders did nothing. The labor movement that we are seeing right now is directly impacted by the Bernie Sanders 2016 and 2020 campaigns, which were built off of Occupy Wall Street, which are built off of the reactions from these financial crises. Bernie Sanders directly fights for veterans. He directly champions working class people and passes bills as the I don't know if he still is, but he was the chairman. I think he is the chairman of one of the most influential budgeting committees in the Senate. He got Biden to move left on so many different things, and Jimmy Dore wants to act like Bernie is a sellout? I'm sorry, what?
Military industrial complex. He's a war pig and
he supported Tulsi Gabbard, who is straight up out of the military industrial complex. She represents basically the military industrial complex. Doesn't represent the military. But yeah, of course, Bernie actually, this is what's so frustrating. Bernie actually has crossed the aisle to work with pretty much some of the worst Republicans, but to guarantee access to programs for veterans. He is an enormous proponent of veterans, for veterans. And that it is totally overlooked by most people in general. But Jimmy Dore, you think he's going to give him any credit? This is supposed to be a person that is one of the largest creators online of the, quote, progressives. This is a guy that wanted to have AOC and the Justice Democrats throw away any sort of leverage that they had to have basically a mock vote, a vote that is just a burial for Medicare for all, to get absolutely destroyed in a vote because not every Democrat supports it and every Republican opposes it. For what? For what? That is what he wanted. That is the strategy of these people. It is clear that they've never actually engaged in actual organizing. It is clear that they've never engaged in actual politics. Because he doesn't know how the interlocking of the party actually happens. How the functioning of governance works.
Liar. He's the worst type of person because
He is saying that Bernie Sanders is the worst type of person.
Take Mitch McConnell over fucking Bernie Sanders any day because I can see Mitch McConnell coming. I can't see Bernie Sanders coming because he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'll take the wolf in wolf's clothing any day over a piece of shit like Bernie Sanders.
I'll take the wolf in wolf's clothing over the wolf in sheep's clothing, claiming that Mitch McConnell is better than Bernie Sanders. This is a progressive? How? How is that the case? How could you possibly believe that? You have to be so disingenuous to say that, oh, because this is the reality of this. People like Jimmy Dore, people like him on the, as Benjamin Dixon said on the program way back, the dumb left, believe that once someone basically becomes popular or becomes a fixture within the establishment, which there is a political establishment, Bernie is not part of it, but when he became part of the establishment, he sold us out. For what? What did he sell us out for? What did he get? If you want to claim that, at least prove something. At least say he did it for something. What, he wrote a book? That's not selling out. Bernie consistently is pushing some of the most progressive policy in the Senate. And yet, people on the dumb left want to say, oh, it's not enough. It's not enough. Well, if it's not enough, you either have to elect more people to office, while Jimmy Dore supports RFK Jr., who does not even support Medicare for all, by the way. Again, I will emphasize this. There are people that want what shouldn't be pie in the sky policies, because I'm going to preface this, because we might agree on a lot. Theoretically, we should agree on a lot of policies. But they don't understand that you cannot pass, you will not pass. It is literally impossible to pass Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, I don't even, like, what else? There's so many other things that you cannot pass without actually getting paid family leave. You can't get these things that should be bread and butter without electing more progressives to Congress, to the Senate, to your local state house, your local state senate, your local borough council, your local township supervisor, your county government. That is how organizing works. And to sit there and claim that Mitch McConnell, who is one of the most effective Republican governing legislators in the history of this country, that has eroded the whatever progress we had from the New Deal that was left over, has basically eroded all of it, except maybe trying to cut down Social Security and Medicare directly. They have not gotten to do that. Is so stupid. This does not reflect any sort of real progressive engagement, real organizing ability and understanding with the world as it is. You want to change it, you want to make policy like Medicare for all possible, then you have to organize. You have to mobilize people. But if you want to just call Bernie Sanders a war pig and make money off of it and juice yourself up, have at it. But you're a loser. You've done nothing with what your platform is. That's what's frustrating about this. That someone like him, Jimmy Dore, has this platform like that. And he does nothing with it. It's a waste. He just wants to call Bernie Sanders a war pig. It's embarrassing. So, that is all I have for you tonight. Bunch of things all over the place. If you guys enjoyed the show, hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching. You're not already subscribed. There's a bell button there. You can hit that, and it'll tell you when we go live every single time that we do. You can listen to the program pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you want to just listen, you can follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, Greater Society Media. You can follow me on X or Twitter at Connor OHanlon. You can support the show for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/Greater Society Media. And you can join our Discord server by going to the description box of this audio or video and joining the discussion there. So, with that being said, that's all I have for you. I will see you all next week. Stay safe. Peace.